Well, good morning and welcome to welcome to today's workbook lesson from A Course in Miracle, workbook lesson number 23. And I am so excited to be your guide today. My name is Oliver Blue, and I am the co-founder of Truly Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to the sharing of advanced spirituality. And the reason we say that it is advanced is because the effects of it causes us to progress uh, on an upward spiral of awareness and consciousness, meaning that we're growing, meaning that we're expanding. And one of the greatest needs that we have as a species is to grow and expand our awareness. If we wish to have a real impact on the world, if we really have an intention to see things differently, then it has to start with us. Thus, advance spirituality. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to get right into today. We're going to get right into today's lesson. Okay, so lesson 23, the idea for today says, I can escape from the world I see. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Think about that. What this idea is introducing is the way out of seeing the world the way we see it now. Without mind training, without a system of renewing the mind or rejuvenating the mind to align itself with that which is real, there has to be there has to be a concerted effort, uh, a structural effort, which is what the Course in Miracles workbook lesson is providing, to bring a discipline, to bring a reality to this mechanism that is called mind. Why? Because mind um, is the mechanism that we use to make our decisions, that we use to really see with. I mean, we think that physiologically that we actually see with these two eyes that sit in our head, that we actually hear with these two ears that we have on our head. But in reality, everything is taking place. All of life takes place uh, in the mechanism of the mind. The mind is what connects us to this physical world, and also connects us to the invisible world, the world, vertical world, which represents our reality as spirit, and then the horizontal world that represents our experience in this physical domain. And at the center of that, just imagine this uh, this unlimited mechanism we call the mind that we all share, that is the control center for all of that, in a sense. And so the mind will serve whatever part of us, the humane part of us, or the vertical part of us. It will serve whichever part um, that it is developed in. So without a awareness of our spiritual nature, which is love and happiness and peace, if, if that is not developed, we will develop our human nature, which is individuality, separation, sin, guilt, and fear. Okay, so the mind has to be programmed to allow the spirit to lead us in our decisions, in our perceptions, in our actions, in our thoughts. Okay, so I can escape the world I see, because we were told on yesterday that the world we see is a form of vengeance, meaning there is a penalty that is being paid. There is a repayment of vengeance. Vengeance denotes that which is discomforting, painful, okay, distressing. That there is a form of vengeance, and that form we see in the world, not necessarily with the eyes, but more so, it is our thoughts that's creating that form of vengeance. And so, if our thoughts create the form of vengeance, then our singing will show us, the world will show us through our seeing that that is true. So all we see, everything we see, every person we see, every place we see becomes a form of vengeance. And that's how we currently see with a mind that is not trained to see things differently. And remember, we decided 3 lessons ago that we determined to see. Then we're determined. Not only then we take it a step further, we go up another step, and we decided that we determined that we want to see things differently than the way that we see it now. Why do we want to see things differently than the way we see them now? Because the way we see now, we see a world of vengeance. We see people and places and things as forms or symbols of vengeance. And that's all coming from the way we think now. And so today we are going to move, begin to move out of this current way of seeing and be introduced to an idea that will cause us to see things differently. And it says, I can escape from the world I see, which is a world of vengeance, by giving up attack thoughts. So, what has to change is not the world outside that we see, or the people that we see, or the places that we see, or the ideas that we see. Those are effects. They're already manifested. It's like when you if you don't, like this time of the year is February. This is the time of the year that if you have a home and if you have a yard with grass, this is the time of year that people are actually putting out what they call pre-emergence. Pre-emergence is basically a chemical that is designed to destroy the roots of weeds, because we don't want weeds in our yard. We want grass, pretty grass. We want a pretty lawn. So you have to put out pre-emergence. Because if you don't put out pre-emergence, what you're going to see in July and August is a bunch of weeds called crabgrass. But when the crabgrass appears, when you can actually see it, it's too late to try to use chemicals to destroy it. Too late. It has already taken root. It's already grown. It's already effect. The effect is already there, and you would have a tremendous effort to try to pull up all that crabgrass. Too late. It's in taking root. But if you put down the pre-emergence in February, then it helps to keep the roots from even getting started, and therefore your lawn remains nice and pretty and lush, weedless. Okay, so the world that we currently see now, and why we see it in that way, is full of, it says, vengeance, threats, attacks, war, hatred. Okay, um, separation, division, full of fear, full of inequality, full of uh, class system, systems of economics that are not fair, that we think, well, that's the way we see it. Groups of people that are not treated the same, unfairly treated. Okay, that's what we see. That's the crabgrass that has come up as a result of not putting out the pre-immersion. Well, in this case, in our study, the pre-immersion is what we're going through every day in these 365 lessons. So without this process, the propensity is that we're going to think in terms of that which is not real. And we're going to get caught up in the unreal, and it will cause us to be tossed to and fro by every wind of action. But getting involved and bringing the mind into renewal and subjection, putting out the pre-immersion, calls us to begin to see that which is real and with intention. Okay, so therefore, we can better now navigate the world that is appearing to everyone else as a place of vengeance. We can become that. Then we really become the light of the world. We really become the saviors, the healers, the teachers of God. Yes, because we're seeing as God sees. Okay, only the real. When you go to a movie, are you aware that you are sitting in the movie watching uh, a movie that was created, that was made, not created, it was made? Okay, because movies are not an extension of reality. Movies are made up. They are made up and infused with whatever idea or thoughts that I want to infuse it with. And so as the moviegoers sit there and watch the movie, you can get lost the in what was made up. And in that moment it can become reality to you until you realize, hey, I'm just watching a movie, because we put all our emotions in it. We put all we bring all our perceptions to it. We bring all our hurts and all our pains, all our prejudices to it. And we can really get into a movie where you sitting there and lose yourself in the movie. Well, that doesn't make the movie real. And the only thing that has to change is the way you're thinking about it. Okay. Realize that this is not reality. Okay, let me snap out of it. Why am I crying here? This is not real. Okay, so the idea for today contains the only way out of fear. So it is relating seeing a world of vengeance with fear. If you thought that you were going to be attacked, or if you were going to attack someone, that would cause an element of fear to rise up within your sensation, your nervous system. No one attempts to destroy without being motivated by in their nervous system by fear. Fear of being attacked, therefore I must attack. I must kill or be killed. Self-preservation is what we call it. If I feel like someone is going to take something from me, I have to defend myself. We see this happening in today's society where people feel like they have to not have one gun, but they have a house filled with guns. Why? They feel threatened by the world they see. They feel threatened that someone is going to take something from them. And so they have to defend themselves. Or they feel as though before someone attacks me, I have to attack them. And so we weaponize our homes, we weaponize our life. And some people just live that way, fearful of something being taken from them, fearful of losing their body, which they think that is who they are, the body. So I must protect the body at all costs. And so the world that they see is a world of vengeance. And we see this playing out in this present day world in a way that it's never been played out before. So the idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. The idea for today is suggesting that the only way out of fear is to give up attack thoughts. That's really the only way out of it. You can't buy enough guns. You can't um, put enough systems on in your home or in your businesses. You can't buy enough insurance. And just notice now, gun industry, insurance industry, security industry are some of the fastest growing industries in this present day. Why? People are thinking this is the way to preserve themselves, to protect themselves. And it says the only way out of fear is to give up attack thoughts. That's amazing. And it doesn't cost you anything to give up an attack thought, but it can cost you a tremendous amount to do these other things. It says nothing else will work. That's why I like the course. It doesn't mince words. You don't have to interpret what it's saying. I mean, it's just pretty straightforward. Hey, look, if you want to get out of uh, seeing a world of vengeance, you got to give up your attack thoughts. A 5-year-old can understand that. Nothing else would work. Everything else is meaningless. Everything else is meaningless. All other ways of getting rid of fear are meaningless, meaning that they don't work. But this way cannot fail. Here's a fail-proof way for us to finally walk out of fear, walk away from fear. Okay? Fear is not a person, place, or thing. It's a false perception that we make reality. Even the world we see is a false, remember, the world we see is a false perception. We make it, but when we try to make it real, then it becomes ours. It becomes a projection of the fear that's in our thoughts. It says, but this cannot fail. Every thought you, every thought you have, every thought that you have makes up some segment of the world that you see. So our seeing is a result of our thoughts. How we see the world is a reflection of our thoughts. So our thoughts are projected outward and we see our thoughts. We project them on people, we project them on places, and we project them on things. And remember, early in the lesson, we are preoccupied with the past. So we're not seeing in the present. What we're seeing is a preoccupation with a past. So our past forms a what we call a paradigm, or it forms the lenses from which we see in the present. So that's why the course said in early lesson that we're not really seeing. We're only seeing the past, which creates a false perception. Now we put them on as glasses. We put on all those false perceptions, all of our past associations. We put them on, and that's what we're seeing. But are we seeing? You see, we're not seeing. We're only rehearsing the past. And when we're rehearsing the past, according to the course, all we're doing is rehearsing fear. Because all we're seeing is vengeance. You get it? I look cool in these glasses, right? So think about it now. Think about this in your own life. Wow. This is what I've been doing. I ain't been doing nothing. It said, it is with your thoughts then. Okay, so the conclusion is it is with my thoughts, your thoughts, it is with our thoughts that we must work. It is with our thoughts then that is where we must work. Because it is the only way that we work. You'll be pulling crabgrass for days, months, trying to get all of it out of your yard once it comes up. Try it. I've tried it. It's not a good activity. So the thing to do, the thing that really works is to put pre-immersion out in February. And then people all during the spring months and summer months, they put out what they call weed and feed. Weed to keep the weeds from taking root. Feed is to feed the grass. We want to feed the grass. The grass in our example here represents reality. We want to feed reality and we want to root out unreality. We want to feed true perception and root out false perception. We want to feed Christ's vision, God's thoughts, and root out the ego thought system of sin, guilt, and fear. That's the ego thought system. If the way we think is based on sin consciousness, fear, and guilt, that's an indication our operating system is the ego. Sin has to do with the past. Something I did in the past that wasn't right. Sin, which which created separation. Guilt is the way I feel right now as a result of the sin that I committed in the past. Then, as a result of that, I feel guilty. Guilty means I'm deserving of punishment. That's what the ego, highly developed thought system, that's the way it goes. Sin consciousness, guilt. Sin in the past, I feel guilty in the present. And so what? Sin, guilt, and fear. I fear the future. That's the thought system of the ego. If you're preoccupied with past thoughts, that's because you feel like there's something wrong. Something wrong with me. I'm flawed. Why am I flawed? Look at my results. Look at what has happened to me. Look at what they've done to me. Look at how they've done it to me. Look at how long they've done it to me. Why did they do it to me? If something must be wrong with me. See, that's sin consciousness. Adam and Eve sinned, so I must sin. You know, the Bible said if one sinned, all have sinned. All have sinned and come into the glory of God. The sinner shall die. The sinner shall reap. You know, all these ideas were planted in us. And so how do we see ourselves? We see ourselves that way as sinners. I mean, and we preach it. We teach it. You're just a sinner. You're no good. You're filthy rags. If it wasn't for Jesus, you wouldn't be nothing. So just think about that. If it wasn't for Jesus, you wouldn't be nothing. So what does that make you? See, that's not a true perception. That promotes sin consciousness. That's why a lot of religious people, well-meaning religious people, who've been trained in this system of separation, ego, through, and we use scriptural references to do it. And people raise up in religious systems, and they're some of the most sin conscious people in the world. And so, therefore, they project that consciousness out on the world, saying, you know, this is sin, that is sin. If you drink, you sin. If you chew, you sin. If you dip, you sin. If you have sex, you sin. If you watch certain things on TV, you sinner. And so they tell them you can't do any of these things because they're sin. The whole world is sin. And then they say, well, the sinner shall surely die. So we're nurtured in that sin consciousness. And then we say we know God. And thank God for Jesus, because if it weren't for Jesus, we'll be all doomed to hell. So Jesus saved us from an angry, vengeful God. So we are more in love with Jesus than we're more in love with God, because we feel like Jesus saved us from the wrath of God. And the Bible even teaches that. But when you think about that, when you think about that idea, what does it promote? Does it promote peace, or does it promote more fear? That's a fearful idea. It's not right. It's not right. It's not real. It's based on man's perception of himself, and he projected it into what we call the truth as they saw it. It's the truth as they saw it because it's not the truth as it is. Because the truth as it is, we're an extension of the perfect reality. That's who we are. That's what we are. We are an extension of that. We have already defined what reality is: unalterable, has no beginning, has no end. It can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed. It's eternal. That's what and who we are. Well, I got off on a rabbit trail there. It says, so it is with your thoughts then that we must work if your perception of the world is to be changed. Why? Because we realize that our thoughts are is what have created our seeing. It's our thoughts that have created our the world that we see and the vengeance that we see in the world. If the cause of the world you see is attack thought, so if attack thoughts is the cause of the world that I see, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. No one wants a world to live in a world of vengeance. But when you realize that the world of vengeance that you see is a result of your attack thoughts, you don't want, then you say, I don't want these attack thoughts. I don't want to live in a world of fear and anxiety and inequality and hatred and vitriol and division and separation. A loveless world. I don't want to live in a loveless world. I would prefer to live in a loveless, a loveful world. I don't want to have a loveless relationship with my children or with my husband or with my extended family or with my coworkers or with my neighbors or with people of a different persuasion or different race or different religion or different political idea. I don't want to live in a loveless situation. But I want it ideally I want it to be what filled with love. Yes, that's what we desire because that's who we are. We are love. It says there is no point in lamenting the world. There's no point to being depressed. There's no point of lamenting the fact that the world you see in this at this point. There's no point in lamenting that world. Why? Because it's not real. The world we see now is not real. The one that we projecting out from our thoughts, that is a world of vengeance. The world we see that we say eventually everybody's going to die. Everybody's going to hell or everybody's going to be destroyed. Don't lament that world. That's because that's a false perception based on thoughts of attack. Now that we understand what the cause is and the effect is, it said don't lament that world. There's no point in that. Why? It said there is no point in trying to change that world either. Now, I'm really going to say some things here that cause you to might cause some resistance. It says there's no point in lamenting the world. There's no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change. The world is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. When that crabgrass comes up, it's an effect of not using the pre-emergence. And there's no need to lamenting the weeds in your yard now. it's too late. It's an effect. It's not the cause. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Jesus never commissioned humanity in his dissertation to go change the world. His instruction was to change your mind about it. That's what he meant when he said, you are in this world, but you're not of this world. You're in the illusion, but you're not of the illusion. The illusion is an effect. You are a cause. You're not an effect. You're my righteous cause. So you see things differently. He said, there's no point in it. There's no point. He said, it is incapable. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. Remember now, the world we see, based on the teaching earlier when I taught about what is the world is false perception. It is that which is unreal. It is a projection of our thoughts that's based on the past, which is not based on reality. So if you projecting unreality, what you're going to see is unreality. But if you project reality, you're going to see reality. And we have to know the difference between the two. Here you are changing the cause. The effects will change automatically. So when we deal with the cause, which is our thought system, we will change the what effects automatically. What we begin to see is the cause. So we have to go to the root of the problem to come up with a real solution. A real solution. A real solution is changing the way we think, not changing the outside world. You will never fix your fear, your sin consciousness, and your guilt by changing the outside world. And that is one of the ways that the ego's thought system causes us to get to place all our focus on trying to change the outside world. It will never bring you peace, lasting peace, happiness, or joy. You may have some effect on changing an outward situation, but it's only temporary. You come back tomorrow and it's different. Those of us that, do service work, have you ever put a lot of money and resources and time into helping someone to change their life? By trying to change them, and it lasts for maybe a day or 2 days, a week, or maybe in a month. But eventually they're right back in the situation that they were in, even worse. And that's frustrating because you put a lot of time and effort and resources and money into that. And according to this lesson, it's pointless to work from the outside in because it said you can never change the unreal because the unreal keeps changing. But that which is changeless, which is, that which is changeless, if we allow that to be our thought system, then what we see change automatically. Because now we're seeing through true perception, we're seeing through Christ consciousness, we're seeing through that which is real, that which is stable, that which is certain, that which is unchanging, that which is everlasting, that which has no beginning and has no end. We, we're changing the content, which is our thoughts, versus the form, which is the people, places, and things. That's more effective. To change the content. When you want to change what you're, if you're sitting and watching television, if you want to change what you're seeing, what do? You take the remote and you what? Go to a different channel, or you go to a different frequency, or you go to a different idea, a different thought. You hit the button and you go to a different frequency. If we are to effectively change the world that we see, we're going to have to go to a different frequency, a different way of thinking. We're going to have the mind of Christ. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ. What mind they're talking about? They're talking about a different mind, a different way of thinking. Who thought it not robbery to have equality with God? The mind of Christ knows that it has equality with the source itself. It knows that it is one with the source itself. It's not separate from the source. It is the source. We will never have real peace as long as we are putting someone else or some other deity on a pedestal and worshiping it and says, if it weren't for you, I would be nothing. That was not the idea. That was not the message of Jesus. He came to show us who we were. He called us brother. He called us friend. And we want to put him on a pedestal as something different than us because we're still not embracing who we do that because we're fearful of embracing our reality, our equality with him. He's no special person, he's no special than you. He's just a person that dealt with reality only. So he becomes the model and the example, not for you to worship him. He did that to show you how to navigate life through the prism of which is real. But then we make a religion out of it. And you see what that religion has done all through the ages. That religion has seen a world of what? Vengeance, and have been responsible for most of the wars in the world, most of the dark ages. It's time to stop perpetuating that murderous idea. Jesus was not a murderer. He loved humanity. So how can you kill your brother? How can you see your brother as anything other than what you are? It comes through this thought system, this ego thought system that we have embraced, and we call it, and then we put a label on it and call it, we call it Christianity, or we call it Judaism, or we call it Catholicism, or we call it Islam. We label it and say this is God. No, they're saying, well, no, this is God, and then this group said, no, this is God, and we're killing each other. None of that's God. I know I'm saying some strong things this morning, but they need to be said. They need to be said. We need to get this right. You want to change the world? Let's get our thinking right. That's all they're saying. There's the only way to escape the world that you see is this process we're talking about here. Focusing on the way we're thinking and what we're thinking. Notice what you're noticing. That's why you have the ability to notice. Notice what you're thinking. So that means you're not your thoughts. If you can notice your thoughts, that means there's a difference. You are not your thoughts. Who's the one that's noticing the thoughts? Your ability to notice thoughts, letting you know that you're greater than your thoughts. And you're even noticing that you're noticing your thought. Well, who is that? See, now you're getting to the real you. And you can notice what you're thinking about your thoughts and what you're thinking about what you're thinking about. You can know, I mean, how far you want to take this awareness that you are. Now you're using your godlike faculties to reason. Okay, reasoning, using reasoning. Now you can imagine. Now you can change your perceptions. Now you can use your will to decide for that which is true. See, now using the six capacities that I talked about earlier, now you're living in the real world, which is the invisible world, what has an impact on the physical dimensional world. You want to have an impact, begin to develop your invisible self, not your visible self. So here is here you are changing the cause. The effects will automatically change. The world you see, wow, I got 13 minutes. I'm not going over an hour. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. This is the way we see now. If we're not seeing from a thought system of oneness and love, each of your perceptions are external reality, is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is this really seeing? If you're just seeing your attack thoughts projected outward. Is not fantasy a better word for this process? So it's not real seeing, it's fantasizing. And hallucination. One thing about this course book, it is written and it uses psychological terms. Why? Because the problem is in our psychological makeup. So it goes to the root of the problem. So it uses psychological terms like um, it uses psychological terms like perceptions, um, fantasy, and hallucination. So if we're not really seeing, we are hallucinating, and we denote or associate hallucination with what wrong seeing. You know, people hallucinate. You know, they get on drugs and they see things that are not there. So the course is saying we're not really seeing, we're just hallucinating. We're seeing things that are not there. We're creating images that are not there. I love this course because it gets to the root of things. Because most of us are, by the time we're 20 years old, we are so messed up in our psychological makeup. We've been so duped. We've been so conditioned that by the time we're 20, we don't know which way is up. And so then we go out and try to tackle this world. We're going to go out here and change this world and try to make it a place that I'm happy. Make relationships that are going to cause me to be happy. Make people do what I want them to do so I can be happy. We're going to go and change this world. We're going to change this world. And we go out there to try to change the world. Said it is impossible to do. Because as soon as you make a change out there, it changes again. So when is there a permanent fix? There is a permanent fix. And that permanent fix is our thought system, the way we think. That you can change permanently. That's the good news. The good news, you don't have to go out there. The good news is you can change the way you see. And when you change the way you see, you change what you see. And when you change what you see, you only see what you think. So, what do you think about humanity? What do you think about your brothers and sisters, your husband, your wife, your friends, your mother? What do you think about them? Where are you holding attack thoughts towards someone? According to this lesson, we're just dabbling in hallucination and fantasy. Do you feel a resistance coming up when I say things like that? Just notice what you're noticing. Notice your feelings, your sensations when you hear these truths. Because we know they're true. Our spirit bear witness that these ideas are true. That's why we just do them. We don't even with resistance. We're just going to do the idea because it's taking us somewhere. It's having an effect on the way we're thinking. And if it's having an effect on the way I'm thinking, it's having an effect on the way I'm seeing. And if it's having an effect on the way I'm seeing, I'm changing the world just by my seeing. That you can do without anyone's permission, without anyone's cooperation. Your husband don't have to cooperate. Your children don't have to cooperate. Your mom and daddy don't have to cooperate. Your neighbor don't have to cooperate. Your boss don't have to cooperate to engage this process. The president of the United States doesn't have to change. You don't even have to change political parties. You don't have to change the church you go to. You don't have to change nothing. Just change your mind about the way you see. That's all. And you can do that without anybody's permission. And when you think this way, you realize, well, why am I holding on to this? Well, why am I feeling this way? I must be hanging on to hurt and pain and disappointment and frustration. Why am I doing that? I don't want that. You see, why am I hanging on to this thought? I don't want that. I don't want the results of that thought. I don't want to see like that. Why am I still why can't I get over that? The hurt, the pain, the betrayal, the disappointment. All those are effects. None of those are the cause. All those is a projection out of my thought system. And the people were just acting out of my thoughts. I was directing the movie. They were the actors. I wrote the script. So they were just acting out my thoughts. My perceptions make projections. What I my what I perceive based on my thought life inside, I project it out. And then the world shows it back to me in pain and disappointment, in strained relationships, in lack of money, poor health, broken relationships, they all were a projection of my perception. Perception makes projection. We see inside and we project it out. And then it mirrors it back to us. I know this sounds something about like the what's that? The Matrix. Watch that movie. It's a lot of truth in it. No, it is a realm on which life is really lived, and that is in the mind. If you're living only a body experience, you're just living in the world of effects. And that's why we stay out of balance. But when you learn to live in the world of cause, where you rewrite the script, where you choose the actors and the directors, and the scenes, and the locations, that's why you can design a life that you love. When you realize what I'm talking about here, when you realize what the course is teaching us here, you can now design. You can take what we've learned in 23 lessons now. I say, okay, I know what the real deal is now, and design your very own life that you would love to live. A life full of love, joy, and peace, where there's only love. There's love and nothing else. Where there's perception of beauty and radiance and oneness and glory and compassion and abundance. You can design it now, just in 23 lessons. You ready to go? But there's more. It says, one can walk, one can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process? And hallucination a more appropriate term for the results? You see the world that you have made. You see the world you made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. But you are. But I am. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause, which is our thoughts. This is what salvation means. So salvation means to be saved from ourselves by being saved from our wrong thinking. To be saved is to be rescued from our wrong thinking. It's not to be snatched from hell, which it's not you not be saved so you can, have eternal life. You already have eternal life. You already have that. It's not to be saved you from hell, from living, in eternal damnation. Well, that's not possible. Hell doesn't exist. Only in your mind. And so that's only while you are in this dimension creating hell. It seems like eternity until you truth. So you don't have to fear hell. Well, you know that you can change the illusion or the hallucination of being in hell or being a hell raiser. You say, Oliver, why are you laughing? This is a serious matter. I know it. It is serious. But it's really funny when you now, as when you learn truth, it becomes very, very, the world becomes funny because you know it's not real. People's stories become somewhat comical because you realize that they created that. But what the good news is that they can create something different. You can create something different. I can create something different. If I don't like the world I see, I don't have to go out and try to change people or change places or things or systems. Just change myself. And I can do without anyone's permission. You don't even need God's permission to do that. Oh my God, I love you so much. I love truth so much. It sets me free. Hmm. Oh, I forgot I'm doing this video. It says, you are the image maker. You are the projector. You are the producer. You are the executive producer of your story, of your life. You the cameraman, you the cast, you the sound man, you everything. You got it all. You got everything it takes to create a life that you would love. Just like you've created a life that you hate. I've created situations and circumstances in my life that I absolutely hate. And I didn't know how to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But now I do. By just thinking that Humpty Dumpty is still sitting on a wall, is still whole, still complete, still happy, still at peace. It was only a dream. It was only a dream. And in most cases, our life up until this point, up until now, was only a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now that song has meaning, real meaning to you. Because when we was growing up, it was like, what do you mean life is but a dream? Life is real. And so we thought. Oh my God. Y'all saying Oliver's having so much fun with this. I am, and I hope you are. You should be. You should be learning. You should be learning. It should be making you like, oh wow, man, this is like it's like seeing like God, man. I see why God is God, right? See why you are you, and we are a part of that God being self. We just needed to turn our attention back to the truth, back to the light. So we're saved from our thoughts. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. So there's something standing present always, ready to replace the hallucinations, the fantasies that we hold, the, the ego thinking, the ego thought system that we hold. There's something always ready, always present to replace that. All it takes is your willingness. All it takes is your desire for it. And that which is there to replace our false perception is what the Course calls vision, Christ vision, true perception. When we make that exchange, that's what true forgiveness is. When we forgive one perception for another, we give up the lie for the truth. We give up false perception for true perception. We give up sin, guilt, and fear for love, joy, and peace. That exchange, that transfer, that replacement, that getting rid of one way of thinking and thinking in a real way is called forgiveness. That's what true forgiveness is. When you give up the false for the true. It has nothing to do with the other person. See, in forgiveness, it's not about the other person, it's about you. Forgiving, that's what it means. I am forgiving up this thought system, this ego thought system of sin, guilt, and fear, and replacing it with a thought system of love, joy, and peace and oneness. That's true forgiveness. Got nothing to do with the effects, what they did, what they said, what they didn't do, or what they didn't say, how you treated, and it have nothing to do with that. How he left you, how you left him, he beat you, how you beat him. It has nothing to do with that. That's just effects. And you'll never change or fix that. But in an instant, you can change and fix the way you think and the way you see. And it changes everything. It's called forgiveness. And it's the greatest gift we have on this side of heaven. We're going to get into what true forgiveness is. And it's going to blow your mind. It says, vision already holds a replacement for everything that you see now. Loveliness can light your images. Notice now, loveliness can replace vengeance. It said it can light your images. Loveliness. What is loveliness? That's you. You are love. Like the sages of old wrote, God is love. And you can finish that verse and say, and so am I. And so, because you are love, loveliness is what you think and what you see, not vengeance. Loveliness. It says, loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them, even though they were made of hate. The things we made that ended up saying, I don't want that. That's hate. I don't want her or him. They're hateful. They mean. Loveliness can what? Loveliness, loveliness can transform them from hate into love without them changing. It's the way you perceive them. It's the way you think about them. You mean that guy or that girl can be loveliness? Sure. And they don't have to change? Exactly. Beauty and love is in the eyes of the beholder. That's what it means. Wow. For you will not be making them alone. You would not be making the transformation alone, all by yourself. The idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go so that it can be replaced. The first two steps in this process requires your cooperation. The final one does not. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first two steps, you will see that this is so. What are the first two steps? That we identify first, that the cause be identified and then let go of. So when we identify that the cause of the world we see is our attack thoughts. So you got to first identify that it is my thinking that's screwed up, effed up, that got me effed up, got my family effed up, and the world effed up, and my community effed up. It is our thinking. It is the thinking that has the world in the shape that it's in today. Effed up. The thinking. We don't need more programs. We don't need more money. We don't need more, armaments. We don't need more, you know. We need right thinking. It's what we need. We don't need a bigger budget. We need to think correctly. We don't need Black what lives matters. We don't need white supremacy. That's not the answer. We need to all think correctly. We don't need another president or a king. We don't need anything outside to change. We just need to change our cotton picking mind. And we will begin to see and experience a world of loveliness, of radiance, beauty. Just think about if every individual make a change, a slight change in the way they think based on reality, everything would change instantly. There would be no more need for fighting. There would be no more need for debating. There would be no more need for poverty. There would be no more need for uh, social programs. There'd be no more need for, hundreds of billions of dollars in military budgets. There'd be no more need for it. So there would be plenty to be directed towards those things that could help feed the world, clothe the world, provide the best education for the world. Because there would be no need for all these billions and trillions of dollars that we spend in self-defense, that we spend trying to defend ourselves, can now go towards ensuring that all humanity live at a level that is abundant, that is happiness. Think about it. So we're not trapped. There is a way out. It is only requires that we identify the real cause and be willing to let go. Our attack thoughts. And then it says those first two steps just require our cooperation. It says, but the final one does not. What is the final step? Your images have already been replaced. The final step is vision. There's a vision, there's a Christ consciousness that is standing always present to replace our attack thoughts. By taking the first two steps, you will see there that this is so. Besides using it throughout the day as the need arises, using this idea throughout the day as the need arises, it says 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly to yourself first. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. That's the idea. And then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. As each one crosses your mind, say to yourself, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts about, and whatever you search your mind and find. I can give up attack thoughts about my wife. I can give up attack thoughts about my husband. I can give up these attack thoughts about my children, my parents, my boss. I can give up these attack thoughts about the president. I can give up the attack thoughts about this other nation, this other religion, this other uh, anything that causes you irritation when you think about it. Those are attack thoughts. Give those up. You do not want them because they are the cause of your pain and suffering. They are the cause of your pain and suffering. They are the cause of your pain and suffering. Attack thoughts has nothing to do with the other person or the other place or the other thing. It has to do with the way you are perceiving. So say to yourself, I can escape this pain and suffering I'm experiencing by giving up my attack thoughts. It's just that plain and simple. Hold each attack thought in your mind as you say this, and then dismiss that thought and go on to the next. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. So my thoughts of attacking or being attacked are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. There's no difference. So I want to attack before they attack me. I want to kill or before they kill me. That thought. They're both the same. Or I want to protect myself from their evil or this evil or that system or that government or that party or that religion. I want to protect myself. They're both the same. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this yet, and you are asked for this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We are still in the stage of identifying the cause of the world that you see. We're still training the mind in identifying the cause. That's the stage that we're in this process of renewing our mind. When you finally learn that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are no different, we need to learn this. Thoughts of attack, I want to attack something, or that I'm being attacked, they are no different. They're the same thought. And you are there observing both of those situations. The common thing is you're there. You're thinking, oh, I'm under attack, or I'm under attack, or I gotta attack to protect myself. They're both the same idea. They're both fearful ideas that are being promoted by your thought life. It says, when you finally learn the thoughts of attack and the thoughts of being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. You'll be ready to let it go. Why? Because you don't want either one. You don't want the effects of either one. So let it go. What does let it go mean? Hang on to that thought and we'll talk about it real soon. This is the end of Workbook Lesson 23 in A Course in Miracle. Thank you for being with me today. I know I was a little lengthy, but sometimes things just need to be said in the moment. And so we just have to tell time to stand still and see the salvation of truth. Have a great day. I love you so much. Bye bye.